We've been talking about the fact that the lamb had to be carried in through the eastern gate. But today I want to focus in on the mode of transportation that Jesus took. He could have ridden a camel. It could have been a horse. But instead, Jesus decides to ride it on a donkey. Yes, I know and I understand there are prophetic implications for riding a donkey, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But to understand, even the way animals were used in the first century among kings will make a big difference and bring new light and insight into why he chose that animal. Now, I want to invite you at some point to come with me to Israel, because I want to show you something when you get there that'll put a smile on your face and warm your heart when you understand this context. Up on the Mount of Olives, there's this dear Muslim man who has a donkey, and he's always walking that donkey around, and he yells, "Who would like to take a ride on the Jesus taxi?" Because they know and understand that that's the mode of transportation that Jesus chose in the first century. But what that tells us is something about the rules of engagement, the rules of war that took place in the first century. Now, Israel was and still is, as you know, a very strategic place in the Middle East. It was fought over then, it's fought over now, and until the Messiah returns, it's always going to be fought over. And you had nations in the north who had nations that were in the south, and they would come to attack each other, and poor Israel was always in the middle. And so what would happen is, what if you're a person living in Jerusalem? You come out of the marketplace and you look out and there's a vast army up on the horizon, on the hill, looking down at you. You ask yourself two questions very quick. You say, number one, is that king coming with his army into Jerusalem to fight us and to attack us? Or is he coming just to refuel, to rest, and then continue on to his final destination? Well, there was something put in place. And I've been able to study the Talmud and study practices of war in the first century. And I found out something fascinating that's going to really help you understand why a donkey. You see, if a king was coming on a mission of peace, and he was simply coming to refuel, to let his soldiers rest, and just to stay for a while and then to move on, if he was on a mission of peace, the king would come riding a donkey. And we see that Jesus, at his first coming into the city of Jerusalem, he comes riding on a donkey because his mission is a mission of peace. He's come to reconcile man and God, to bring us back together. But what if it wasn't the first option? What if it was the second option? What if you came out of the market and you looked up on the hill and there was a king sitting on a horse? What would happen? What would that mean then? You see, if a king was coming to make war, he would come riding on a horse. And the first time he came lowly and meek, riding on a donkey. But listen to what the Bible says when the next time you'll see Jesus come into Jerusalem. Revelation chapter 19, verse 11 says the following: I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges, and he makes war. So friends, the first time he came on a mission of peace. But the next time they see Jesus, he'll come riding on a white horse, ready to make war and judge the nations.